We now discuss five elements theory. This time we talk about cycle of generation, restriction, over restriction, counter restriction. Generating cycles among the five elements. Sheng refers to generation. Generation among the five elements means that one of the five elements generates and helps another element in the five elements. The order of generation among the five elements is as follows. Wood generates fire, fire generates earth, earth generates metal, metal generates water, and water generates wood. In the generating relationships, each element has two sides of being generated or generating. The generating one is considered to be mother, while the one being generated is considered as the child. Therefore, the generating relationships among the five elements are so-called mother-child relationship. Take wood as an example. Wood is generated by water, so water is the mother of wood, and wood is the son of water. Wood generates fire, so wood is the mother of fire, while fire is the son of wood. Restriction among the five elements. The Chinese character code refers to restriction. Restriction among the five elements means that one of the five elements restricts and checks another element in the five elements. The order of restriction is as follows. Wood restricts earth, earth restricts water, water restricts fire, fire restricts metal, metal restricts wood. In the restricting relationships among the five elements, each element has two sides of being restricted and restricting. The one being restricted is the phase that is dominated by another, while the one restricting is the phase that dominates the other. Take wood, for example. The one that restricts wood is metal, and the one that is restricted by wood is earth. Thus, metal is called the dominator of wood, and earth is called the subordinate of wood. Generation and restriction among the five elements are two inseparable aspects, which expresses concretely that there is restriction within generation and there is generation within restriction. For example, wood generates fire and also restricts earth. Earth restricts water and also generates metal. The relationships of restriction within the generation and generation within restriction can be the key to maintain the coordination and balance of everything. Over-restriction and counter-restriction among the five elements. These two cycles indicate the abnormal relationships among the five elements. Over-restriction means excessive restriction. In five elements, it refers to an abnormal condition in which one element of the five elements excessively restricts its restricting element, namely over-restriction. It has the same sequence as the restricting cycle. Counter-restriction means the reverse restraint. It refers to an abnormal condition in which one element of the five elements reversely restrains and bullies the element that restricts it. Its sequence is just the opposite of the restricting cycle. There are two causes that result in over-restriction and counter-restriction. One is due to the one element being overly powerful, which either excessively restrains the element that it normally restrains, or reversely restricts the element that originally restricts it. For example, if wood is too powerful, it will excessively restrain earth, leading to the deficiency of earth, which is called wood over-restricting earth. As another example, under the condition of too much power of wood, it is not only being restricted by metal, but also reversely restricts metal. This cycle is called wood counter-restricts metal. The other is that one element among the five elements becomes too weak, which causes either the element that restricts it being relatively hyperactive or the element being originally restricted by it being relatively powerful. Hence, the cycle of over-restricting or counter-restricting occurs. For example, if the strength of earth itself gets weaker, then the strength of restriction of earth by wood becomes relatively enhanced, and it will make earth more deficient. This cycle is called wood over-restricts earth. As another example, when the powerfulness of metal gets too weak, it cannot restrict wood anymore, and it will be reversely restricted by wood. This cycle is called wood counter-restricts metal. Both over-restriction and counter-restriction are abnormal restrictions, and they both have differences and similarities. The difference is that over-restriction has the same sequences as the restricting cycle, except that one element is being overly restricted, while the counter-restriction follows the same sequence as the restricting cycle besides the abnormal restricting cycle. The similarities are that when the over-restriction occurs, the counter-restricting cycle can appear at the same time and vice versa. Thank you for listening.
Let's discuss interviewing on the thorax or the chest. Inquiry should be made about whether there is pain, tightness, heaviness, and agitation in the thorax region. Pain in this thorax is often caused by heart or lung imbalances, but the liver can also be involved. Cramping, tight pain in the heart that feels as though the heart is being squeezed in a vice is due to cold. If the pain is sharp, piercing, or stabbing, there will be heart blood stagnation. A burning pain is the result of heat. The heat can be both deficient or excess. If the chest feels tight, as if there is a metal rim or a piece of elastic around the chest, making it difficult to breathe in, this is a sign of chi stagnation. A similar sensation is that of having a large stone or weight on top of the chest. This will also inhibit the breathing and the chest will feel blocked. This sensation results from the presence of phlegm blocking the movement of chi in the upper jaw. Heat in the upper jaw can give rise to a feeling of unease and turmoil in the chest because the heat agitates the chi. The sensation may also be experienced when exogenous evil heat penetrates deeper and affects the pericardium. Patients with acute cardiac and chest pain should immediately be referred to a Western doctor for further examination. The chest or thorax refers to the part of the body enclosed by the ribs and breastbone. From the Chinese point of view, there is a difference between the front part of the chest, which is under the influence of the heart and lungs, and the sides of the chest, which are under the influence of liver and gallbladder. The front of the chest is also the area where the gathering qi, song qi, is concentrated. So we have here the chest area, the lungs and the heart, and below is the liver and gallbladder. It is necessary to ask about the chest symptoms because some of them occur frequently in practice. In particular, symptoms often manifest in the chest. For example, a feeling of oppression may be felt there or palpitations, which often derive from emotional stress. Patients do not often volunteer information on chest symptoms unless we ask. For example, few patients will actually describe experiencing a feeling of oppression in the chest. In addition, both the tongue and the pulse frequently reflect a pathology of the chest. A purple area in the tongue chest area, for example, or a pulse that is weak and deep in both front position. So we have here the illustration of a purple color in the chest area, which is the lungs or heart, or in women, it also indicates the breast. Chest symptoms often reflect very common pathologies such as liver chi stagnation, phlegm in the chest, and heart blood deficiency. Therefore, specifically, it asks about chest symptoms quite early in the interrogation as the patient is describing his or her symptoms. So how we ask, it is important to be sensitive when asking questions regarding the chest because people often fear that if we ask about the chest, we suspect a heart pathology. Besides this, some typical Chinese expressions are not used by Western patients, and we should therefore phrase the question in a way that is understandable to the patient. For example, a few patients will actually use the expression feeling of oppression of the chest. They will probably describe a feeling of tightness of the chest, or say a feeling was like having a weight on the chest. Palpitation is another example of the importance of asking questions in a way that the patient can understand. Most people think that palpitations are synonymous with tachycardia, that is, the heart beating faster than normal. We should therefore explain to the patient that palpitation simply means an uncomfortable sensation of being aware of one's heartbeat. One could have tachycardia and not have palpitations. So here in the thorax, we could observe pain, which signifies heart blood stagnation, heat, or cold. If there is unrest and turmoil, it signifies heat. If we could feel that there is heaviness, it could signify that there is phlegm, tightness in the chest, G stagnation, pain radiating from the heart and down the left arm is the heart blood stagnation. Thank you for your attention.
Let's continue our discussion of diagnosis according to pathogenic chi with exit, heat, and fire. Exit, heat, and fire has its etiology in excess heat can arise in several ways. It will mainly result from dietary and emotional na po. So let's take a look at the etiology of excess heat and fire. Excess heat can arise in several ways. It will mainly result from dietary and emotional influences. Hot food and beverages such as hot spices, lamb, alcohol, fried food, and so on will create heat. This will generate heat in the liver, stomach, and intestines in particular. Prolonged emotional imbalances such as stress, frustration, and anger will typically generate heat in the heart and liver. Tobacco smoking creates heat in the lung. Exogenous pathogenic heat can directly invade the body. The invasion can be located in the exterior, but there can also be direct invasions of exogenous heat into the interior. Yin pathogens can transform and turn into heat. Invasions of cold can transform into interior heat, while dampness can transform and turn into damp heat. The symptoms and signs are as follows. Thirst, an aversion to heat, unless the pathogenic heat is in the wage aspect, in which case there will be an aversion to cold. The skin may feel warm on palpation, the face can be red, there will be secretions and exudations can change color and become yellowish or greenish. Secretions and exudations become thicker and more sticky. Secretions and exudations can become odorous or taste strongly. There is pain that is throbbing, stinging, or burning, excessive sweating or no sweating, constipation, red tongue, and a rapid pulse. The symptoms and signs of specific fire and heat patterns. In heat in the exterior, there is mild or high fever, thirst, red eyes, red and sore throat, yellowish secretions from the nose, cough, possibly with yellowish sputum, an aversion to cold, there is shivering, a superficial and rapid pulse, possibly a red tip to the tongue or a yellowish coating on the tongue. If there is stomach fire, there will be thirst, excessive appetite, stinging or burning sensations in the stomach, indigestion, bad breath, bleeding gums, mouth ulcers, constipation, red tongue with dry yellow coating, and a rapid and full pulse, especially on the right gone position. If there is liver fire, there will be thirst, irritability, anger, headache, a bitter taste, red eyes, dizziness, red sides of the tongue, dry yellow coating, fast and wiry pulse, especially in the left gone position. If there is heart fire, there will be mental agitation, restlessness, mania, insomnia, palpitations, ulcers on the tongue, thirst, red tongue tip, a rapid pulse, especially in the left tune position. If there is lung fire, there will be cough, thick, sticky, and yellowish sputum that possibly contains blood. There will be thirst, redness in the front third of the tongue, rapid and full slippery pulse, especially in the right tune position. If there is heat in the intestines, there will be constipation, pain, or discomfort in the abdomen. The abdomen is distended and tense. There will be dry yellow coating on the tongue, a rapid and full pulse, especially on the trip position. If there is heat in the urinary bladder, there will be dark yellowish urine that is odorous. The urine may contain blood. There will be frequent scanty and burning urination, yellowish coating on the root of the tongue with raised red papillae, rapid and full pulse, especially in the left chirp position. If there is toxic fire, there will be inflammation with pus or greenish secretions, erosion of the skin or mucous membrane, a swelling in the area that will be extremely red in color and feel warm on palpation. The area will be painful. There will be a red tongue with a dry yellowish coating and a rapid and wiry pulse. For the treatment principle, we expel or drain heat. For the acupuncture points, we can choose from extra point of the head and neck 6, urgent, do 14, and LI 11. If there is heat in the exterior, add do 16, LI 4, Sanjiao 5, lung 7, lung 11, and gallbladder 20. If there is heat in the lung, can add lung 1, lung 5, lung 10, and urinary bladder 13. If there is heat in the heart, you can add heart 8, pericardium 5, pericardium 7, pericardium 8, bladder 14, bladder 15, and ren 15. If there is heat in the liver, can add liver 2, liver 14, and bladder 18. If there is heat in the stomach, we can add stomach 43, stomach 44, stomach 45, ren 12, bladder 20, and ren 13. If there is heat in the intestines, we can add stomach 25, stomach 37, stomach 39, and stomach 44. If there is heat in the urinary bladder, can add bladder 28, bladder 32, and ren 3. Can use the draining technique, and if there is extreme heat, do 14 and urgent can be bled. For further explanations, extra point of the head and neck number 6, LI 11, and do 14, drain and expel heat. Do 16, lung 7, lung 4, Sanjiao 5, and GB 20, expel heat from the exterior. Lung 1, lung 5, lung 10, and lung 11, and bladder 13, drain heat from the lung. Heart 8, pericardium 5, pericardium 7, pericardium 8, bladder 14, bladder 15, and ren 15, drain heat from the heart. Liver 2, liver 14, and bladder 18, drain heat from the liver. Stomach 43, stomach 44, stomach 45, bladder 21, and ren 12, drain heat from the stomach. Stomach 25, stomach 37, stomach 39, and stomach 44, drain heat from the intestines. Bladder 28, bladder 32, Rent-3, drain heat from the urinary bladder. A person with excess heat must avoid food and drinks that have a hot energy. They must also avoid stress. When there is heat in the exterior, it is recommended to drink mint, chrysanthemum, elderflower, or chamomile tea. Heat and fire can be caused by the following pattern of imbalance: invasion of pathogenic qi and qi stagnation. And in turn, this can result to yin deficiency, phlegm, wind, and deficiency heat or blood heat. Thank you for your attention.
We now proceed to diagnosis according to 6 stages. This time, we take up the Shaoyang stage. The Shaoyang is the pivot or hinge between the interior and the exterior. Pathogenic qi can get stuck here in its movement in or out of the body. Shaoyang stage syndromes usually develop from Tai Yang or Yang Ming stage syndrome. It can also arise directly. When pathogenic qi gets stuck here, it is because the pathogenic qi is not strong enough to penetrate deeper into the body, but Zheng qi is not strong enough to drive it out and up, which results in a stalemate situation. This type of pattern can be seen in some patients with chronic fatigue or a state of malaise or illness that they just can't seem to shake off. There will typically be an alternation between symptoms and signs that typify the Tai Yang and Yang Ming stages because pathogenic qi is locked in between these two stages and will move up and down between them. One of the defining symptoms of the Shaoyang stage is the alternation between fever and feeling cold. When exogenous pathogenic factor is in the exterior aspect of the body, there is usually a fever with a concurrent aversion to cold. When there is a Shaoyang pattern, the fever and chills are not concurrent, but alternate with each other. The alternating fever and chills arise from the struggle between pathogenic qi and Zheng qi and indicate which of the two are dominant at that time. The patient can experience a bitter taste in the mouth due to extreme heat in the gallbladder. The heat can also cause the throat to feel dry and can manifest with irritability and dizziness. There can be tension and tightness of the rib cage and chest when pathogenic qi blocks the flow of qi in the Shaoyang channels. The stagnation of qi can also affect the stomach, giving rise to nausea, poor appetite, or vomiting. Shaoyang stage patterns can often be combined with Tai Yang and Yang Ming stage patterns, in which case there will be symptoms and signs of both patterns. Insufficient or incorrect treatment of pathogenic qi in one of the other stages is the etiology of the Shaoyang stage. It is often a consequence of the person not having rested enough while they were ill or having started working again before they were fully fit. This can result in pathogenic qi being retained because the person's upright qi is not strong enough to expel the pathogenic qi completely. Vaccinations can also cause pathogenic qi to get locked in the Shaoyang aspect. Symptoms and signs: alternating fever and chills, bitter taste, tension or tightness in the thorax or costal region, poor appetite, nausea, dry throat, headache, dizziness, irritability, turmoil in the chest. The tongue may have a yellowish coating on only one side, wiry pulse on the left wrist. Key symptoms: alternating chills and fever, bitter taste in the mouth, no appetite, wiry pulse on the left wrist. Treatment principle: harmonize Shaoyang and expel pathogenic qi. Choose from GB34, GB41, Sanjiao 5, Du14, stomach 36, spleen 3, Ren 12. Needle technique: draining on GB34, GB41, Du14, and Sanjiao 5, tonifying on stomach 36, spleen 3, and Ren 12. Sanjiao 5, GB34, and GB41 expel pathogenic qi from the Shaoyang aspect. Stomach 36, spleen 3, and Ren 12 tonify upright qi so that it can expel pathogenic qi from the Shaoyang aspect. Du14 activates Wei qi and drains heat. The patient must avoid overexerting themselves and they must try to avoid new invasions of pathogenic qi. The Shaoyang pattern can be caused by Tai Yang stage, Yang Ming stage, Tai Yin stage, Shaoyang stage, Yin stage. The Shaoyang pattern can result in the Tai Yang stage, Yang Ming stage, Tai Yin stage, Shaoyang stage, and the Yin stage. Thank you for your attention.
Let's discuss balancing distal and local points. The overview. Local points are those situated in close proximity of the area where the clinical manifestation occur. For example, in ear problems with pain and discharge, the points around the ear are local points. Distal points are those that affect a certain area, although they are situated away from the area where the clinical manifestations occur. In the above example of ear problems, distal points would be those on the arm. Generally speaking, local and distal points are situated on the same channel, the former in the area of the clinical manifestation, the latter at the other end of the channel. In the above example, if the channel involved were the triple burner, TB21 is a local point and TB5 a distal point. However, distal points are not necessarily only those of the channel involved. In the above example of ear problems due to the triple burner channel, Li4 would also act as a distal point. Furthermore, although, as mentioned, TB5 as a distal point, any point on the triple burner below the elbow would also act as a distal point. In theory, any point situated at the distance from where the problem lies could be defined as a distal point. For example, if the problem is in the gums along the stomach channel, stomach 4, stomach 5, stomach 6 are local points, and stomach 44 located on the foot is the distal point. However, with very few exceptions, this relationship generally works only in one way. That is, while stomach 44 is a distal point for problems of the gums, points around the gums, the stomach 4, stomach 5, stomach 6, are not distal points for foot problems. So we have here illustration of a local and distal points. The patient having a toothache that is using stomach 6 as a local point, and the distal point is Li4 and stomach 44. Therefore, with only a few exceptions, distal points are the points situated on the arms and legs, and specifically those below the elbows and knees. The points below the elbow and knees are particularly dynamic points which affect distal parts of the body. Obviously, in the case of articular problems below the elbow and knees, local and distal points coincides. For example, in a wrist problem along the small intestine channel, SI5 normally a distal point acts also as a local point. We can therefore say that with few exceptions, distal points are those on the limbs below the elbow and knees, while local points are those on the trunk and head. The combination of local and distal point is most widely used technique of balancing of points. Thank you for your attention.
We continue with diagnosis according to Zhang Fu organ patterns with the pattern stomach fire. Stomach fire is an excess pattern. So patterns of a stomach fire can vary in intensity. There can be mild patterns of stomach heat, and there can be intense patterns of stomach fire. It has, for its etiology, like most stomach and spleen imbalances, stomach fire usually has its roots in dietary imbalances. Consuming food and beverages that have a hot, energetic dynamic can create stomach fire. Alcohol, too much meat, especially lamb, fried food, grilled food, and hot spices are among the most common factors contributing to stomach fire. Tobacco can also be a factor as it is hot and affects both the lungs and the stomach. Food stagnation can be a cause of stomach fire. Therefore, eating too much at a time, eating too quickly, eating too late in the day, and eating food that is difficult to transform can be an aspect in this pattern's etiology. Stressed, repressed anger, frustration, and irritation can generate liver fire, which can then invade the stomach, creating stomach fire. Furthermore, prolonged anxiety and worry can stagnate stomach chi, which can eventually generate stomach fire. Its symptoms and signs are as follows: a searing, burning epigastric pain, insatiable or gnawing hunger, intense thirst with a desire for cold beverages. The person will often drink in large gulps. There is acid reflux, constipation, nausea, vomiting of sour vomit, malodorous breath, blisters or ulcers in the mouth, bleeding gums, parodontosis, sour or bitter taste in the mouth, mental restlessness, dark urine, dry, parched lips. The person may seem unsettled and restless. The person may tend to be ebullient and talk quickly. There is a red face, an aversion to heat, and there is redness in the middle of the tongue with a dry yellowish or brownish tongue coating, a rapid and full pulse, especially in the right guan position and possibly chun positions. The key symptoms here are insatiable hunger, bad breath, thirst, acid reflux, redness in the middle of the tongue. For the treatment principle, we drain stomach fire. For the acupuncture points, we can choose from stomach 21, stomach 34, stomach 40, stomach 44, REN 12, REN 13, spleen 6, LI 11, and bladder 21. We use the draining technique in kneeling except for spleen 6, which should be tonified. For the explanation on points, stomach 21, stomach 40, stomach 44, REN 12, REN 13, and bladder 21 all drain the stomach fire and regulate stomach chi. LI 11 drains stomach fire. Stomach 34 drains stomach fire and stops bleeding from gums. Spleen 6 nourishes and protects the stomach yin. When there is stomach fire, the person should avoid all foods that are hot in their energy. They should eat cooling or neutral foods, especially boiled or steamed vegetables and foods that are moist or glutinous in their consistency, such as porridge. This will help protect the stomach's yin aspect. The ingestion of umeboshi plums will have a neutralizing effect on stomach fire and can be used in acute conditions. If food stagnation is involved in the generation of stomach fire, it is important that the person follows the dietary advice for this pattern. Stomach fire can be caused by stomach chi stagnation, liver fire, and food stagnation. In turn, it can result to phlegm heat, stomach yin deficiency, blood stagnation in the stomach. So to summarize, stomach phlegm fire has its etiology in excessive hot, spicy phlegm-forming foods, smoking, and emotions such as prolonged anger, frustration, resentment, and depression. The underlying or accompanying pathology, there is spleen chi deficiency, stomach chi deficiency, stomach heat, liver chi stagnation, liver fire blazing, and heart fire blazing. The signs and symptoms are burning epigastric pain, bitter taste, thirst, but no desire to drink. There is bleeding gums, mental restlessness, constipation, nausea, vomiting soon after food, sour regurgitation, dry mouth, mouth ulcers, excessive hunger, bad breath, feeling of heat, oppression of chest or in the epigastrium. There is mucus in the stools, insomnia, vivid dreaming, expectoration of phlegm. The pulse is slippery, rapid, slightly overflowing in the right middle position. The tongue is will have a red body, deep midline crack, sticky yellow coating also within stomach crack. The treatment principle: clear stomach and drain fire, harmonize stomach, transform phlegm, nourish yin fluids. So for the acupuncture treatment, stomach 44 to clear stomach heat, stomach 21 to stimulate the descending of qi, Ren 13 to subdue rebellious qi, Li4 to regulate face, eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. Spleen 15 to move qi and regulate the intestines. Spleen 9 to transform dampness. Spleen 6 to supplement the spleen in the stomach. Stomach 34 to harmonize the stomach. Ren 12 to clear stomach heat. Lung 11 to clear heat. Ren 11 to harmonize the middle burner. Stomach 40 to transform phlegm and benefit the chest, and Ren 9 to harmonize the intestines. We all needle these points with drainage. Thank you for your attention.
We now discuss diagnosis according to qi, body fluid imbalances, mainly focusing on qi imbalances. In this diagnostic model, patterns are differentiated in response in relation to changes in the qualities, amounts, and functioning of qi, blood, or body fluids. From an 8 principles point of view, these imbalances will, by definition, be interior imbalances, and they can be either deficient or excess. Differentiating in relation to the vital substances alone is usually not precise enough to be able to treat a patient effectively. When there is, for example, qi deficiency, it is important to determine which organs are qi deficient and what type of qi is deficient. This, however, works both ways. It is not enough to know that there is a heart imbalance. For the treatments to be effective, we have to determine whether there is a heart qi, heart blood, heart yin, heart yang, cold, or phlegm imbalance. This, though, is still not precise enough. If we determine there is a heart qi imbalance, we need to know whether there is heart qi deficiency or heart qi stagnation. Similarly, if there is a heart blood imbalance, we need to determine whether there is heart blood deficiency or heart blood stagnation, or whether blood heat is agitating the heart. These differentiations are important because the treatments required in each situation will be different, as will the advice that is given to the client. Diagnosis in relation to the vital substances is a key aspect of other diagnostic models, especially the diagnosis according to Zhangfu organs. The treatment strategy is implicit in a diagnosis according to qi, blood, and body fluids. When something is deficient, it must be tonified or nourished. When there is a stagnation, that which is stagnant must be dispersed and circulated. If qi is rebellious, it must be regulated. The following patterns are differentiated in the model diagnosis according to qi, blood, and body fluids. There are 4 kinds of qi imbalances: qi deficiency, qi sinking, stagnant qi, rebellious qi. There are 4 kinds of blood imbalances: blood deficiency, blood loss, blood stagnation, blood heat. There are 4 kinds of body fluid imbalances: Genie deficiency, accumulation of fluids, damp, and phlegm. When there are qi imbalances, there will be signs that there is a disturbance of one or more of qi's functions in the body. These signs will arise either because there is too little qi available for qi to be able to perform its tasks, qi deficiency, or because there is qi stagnation. Qi stagnation can prevent the free movement of qi, blood, and body fluids. This will often result in pain, discomfort, and bloating. Qi can also move in the wrong direction, that is, the opposite direction that it should be moving in. For example, when there is harmony, the stomach sends its qi downwards. If stomach qi is rebellious, stomach qi will ascend upwards. This will manifest with nausea, vomiting, hiccups, belching, and acid regurgitation. If there is qi sinking, qi is no longer able to lift and hold things in place. Qi lifts and holds structures in the body in place. So if there is qi deficiency, there can be a prolapse of organs or a sinking, downward dragging sensation in the body. Thank you very much for your attention.
Let's discuss depression, the acupuncture points, part 3. The acupuncture points for depression, we have the bladder 15. The indication for this point includes anxiety, weeping, fright, insomnia, excessive dreaming, manic depression, disorientation, delayed speech development, poor memory, poor concentration, and mental confusion. The bladder 15 is used to tonify heart qi and heart blood in depression occurring against a background of qi and blood deficiency. Bladder 42. The indications for this point include sadness, grief, feeling of oppression of the chest, depression, suicidal thoughts, and 3 corpses flowing. On psychological level, bladder 42 is related to the corporeal soul, the pu, which is the mental spiritual aspect residing in the lungs. Strengthens and roots the corporeal soul in the lungs. It frees breathing when the corporeal soul is constricted by worry, sadness, or grief. It is therefore used for emotional problems related to the lungs, particularly sadness, grief, and worry. It has a very soothing effect on the spirit, and it nourishes qi when this is dispersed by a prolonged period of depression, sadness, or grief. The explanation of the acupuncture points reports the interesting indication 3 corpses flowing for this point. The association with corpses and death should be interpreted in the way that this point is indicated for suicidal thought. Because of the connection between the corporeal soul and death, points associated with the corporeal soul, such as bladder 13, bladder 42, are indicated for suicidal thought. Bladder 44. Indication for this point include depression, insomnia, anxiety, mental restlessness, sadness, grief, and worry. Bladder 42 is mostly used for emotional and psychological problems related to the heart. It is best used in conjunction with bladder 50, insomnia, and depression. Bladder 44 strengthens and calms the mind. It stimulates the mind's clarity and intelligence. Bladder 47. Indication for this point includes fear, depression, insomnia, excessive dreaming, lack of sense of direction in life, and possession by corpse. Bladder 47 is used for emotional problems related to the liver, such as depression, frustration, and resentment over a long period of time. This point settles and roots the ethereal soul in the liver. It strengthens the ethereal soul's capacity of planning, sense of aim in life, dreams, and projects. It is a door, so this point regulates the coming and going of ethereal soul and mind. That is relationship with other people and the world in general. It has an outward movement that could be compared and contrasted with the inward movement of bladder 42. The explanation of acupuncture points confirms that due to this point's nature of window, gate, or door, the ethereal soul goes in and out through it. This confirms the dynamic nature of this point in stimulating the movement of the ethereal soul and mind. However, it can also work the other way, that is to calm down the excessive movement of the ethereal soul. When used in conjunction with bladder 18, it has a profound influence on a person's capacity of planning his or her life by rooting and steadying the ethereal soul. It can help a person find a sense of direction and purpose in life. This point will also help in lift mental depression associated with such difficulties. Thank you for your attention.